Today we're going to replace a faulty starter in a 1994 Toyota Corolla. Before we start the job, just like with any job, we secured the vehicle. First, we applied the emergency brake and put this vehicle in first gear because it has a manual transmission. Next, before we jack the car up, we put in place wheel chucks in front of and behind the wheels that stay on the ground. Then, after we jacked up the vehicle, we put in place jack stands on the frame underneath for maximum stability. Finally, we disconnected the negative battery cable so that it will have an accidental start while we're doing the job. Took off the negative battery cable from the negative battery post and we tucked it down securely so that it doesn't come up and accidentally come back in contact with that negative battery post. So now this vehicle is stable and electronically safe to work on. Next, we'll go underneath the car and replace the starter. Okay, we have the top portion of the air filter removed, and I left the bottom portion in so I could show you these three mount bolts inside. There's one here, here, and here. You want to remove those three. I think they're 12mm bolts. And then the bottom portion of the air filter container will be easily removable. You need to remove that to access the top bolt that mounts the starter to the bell housing. There are two bolts and one electrical wire from the battery. One bolt's on top, one bolt's on the bottom. So you access one bolt from the top of the car and you access the other bolt from underneath the car along with the electrical connector. So I'll show you that top bolt next. Okay, we removed the bottom portion of the air filter housing. So now we're going to go down and look at that 14mm bolt that holds the top portion of the starter. It mounts right to the bell housing. And that bolt is right here, right where we're pointing, right there. And that is 14mm. You want to take that out and remove that up here from the top after you take the air filter housing out. Next, we'll go underneath and look at the bottom mount bolt and the electrical connector. You want to take the electrical connector off first so that when the starter comes free, it doesn't fall and damage the wire. Okay, we're under the car now, and I'm going to show you the two additional connections you need to remove the starter. First, you want to remove this electrical connector right here. I think that's either 12, 13, or 14mm. And then there's an electrical clip. You just depress this little tab here and take this clip off. And then the bottom 14mm mount bolt is right here. Just get a little extension and stick it in there. Take that bolt loose and then work the starter out. And then installation is reverse of removal. Okay, we got the old starter out. Here's the electrical mount bolt we took off. It was 12mm. And this is where the other electrical connector came off. These are the two top and bottom flange mount locations. This is what it looks like. So this is what you're taking loose when you're taking off the top and the bottom. So the top one screws in from this side, and then the bottom screws in from underneath. So I'll just give you a little perspective. And in this particular case, the way it's sitting, this is actually the top. This is the top one. This is the bottom one. But anyway, that doesn't really matter. The way it's sitting, if you turn it over, the way it's sitting in the car is pretty much like that, with a little bit more of a tilt to it. This is the top, this is the bottom, and then the electrical connectors, it's like at an angle like that. And then the electrical connectors are available to you from underneath, like so. That's what we were looking at underneath. So we're on our way to the store to get the new starter. This is going to be a core, about a $35 core. Then when we come back, we'll show you the new starter, and then we'll put it in. Okay, we've got the new starter here, and go ahead and show you how those bolts go in. This is the top bolt here. It goes in through the bell housing on the top, and it screws in. This is threaded. The bottom bolt comes in the opposite direction from underneath, and as you can see, this portion here is not threaded. It goes through, and then the bell housing is threaded. Then you have the little plug right here. It just slides in there and clips in here, and then you have a 12mm bolt here, a nut that holds the primary electrical connector on. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to go ahead and put that in now, and that's the end of this video. Okay, got the new one all installed. As you can see, we got the bottom bolt in. You have electrical connections connected up. The new bolt that came with the starter just happened to be 13mm instead of 12mm that was originally on it. One note or tip to make it easier: to install the starter, it was easier to put the top bolt in first. So the way I did it was, I just took the starter in from the bottom here, worked it in, laid it up there next to the bell housing, then went back top side, held it in place, and installed the top bolt first. That's easier than trying to install the bottom bolt. Then once you have the top bolt installed, it's a lot easier to come back down while the top bolt holds it in place. Not completely tight, but just snug. And then you can easily work the bottom bolt in and then attach the electrical connections. So that's it. Installation of a failed starter in a 1994 Toyota Corolla.